Forget everything you thought you knew about live shows. Forget every stadium tour, every festival headliner, every so-called greatest concert of all time. Because what happened this weekend at Yankee Stadium wasn't a concert. It was a hostile takeover of the entire genre. 10,000 fans locked outside a fortress. 30,000 hostages inside a sold-out cathedral. A 4-hour delay that should have ended a career. Barricades ripped from the ground. Police radios lighting up. Charlemagne locked out. A$AP Rocky locked out. Fabulous locked out. And when the doors finally sealed shut and the clock struck 12:20 in the morning on a night that was already supposed to be over, Jay-Z walked onto that stage in a pinstripe jacket and Timbs, looked at a stadium that had every right to riot, and delivered what will go down as the single most dangerous, most delirious, most divine hip-hop performance ever committed to a live stage. 50 songs. 3 straight hours. Beyoncé. Rihanna. Pharrell. Pusha T. Malice. Usher. Jermaine Dupri. Jeezy. Fat Joe. Jadakiss. Swizz Beatz. Teyana Taylor. The Dream. Every single one of them summoned like generals answering a king. And by the time Frank Sinatra's voice echoed through the Bronx at 2:30 in the morning, the entire industry had a new problem on its hands. Jay-Z, at 56 years old, in his 30th year in the game, just quietly detonated the ceiling of what a rapper is allowed to be. If you thought his return was retirement talk, you were wrong. If you thought this was a nostalgia lap, you were wrong. This was a warning shot. And by the time you finish this video, you are going to understand why the entire hip-hop landscape just shifted overnight, and why every artist under 40 should be terrified of what Jay is about to drop next. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and lock in, because we are cracking open the wildest concert story of the decade. Let's set the scene, because the scene matters more than the set list. The Yankee Stadium residency was already the loudest moment of the summer before Extra Innings even existed. Friday night, July 10th, Jay-Z performed Reasonable Doubt front-to-back to celebrate 30 years of the debut that started everything. Saturday night, July 11th, he ran through the Blueprint, that 2001 masterpiece that turned 25 this year, with Eminem stepping through the curtain on one night and Nas on the other. 2 shows that would have been career-defining moments for any other artist on earth. 2 nights that critics were already calling untouchable. And then Jay-Z did what only Jay-Z would do. He added a third night. He looked at the impossible standard he had just set, laughed, and said, "Let's play Extra Innings." Sunday, July 12th, was supposed to be the victory lap. Instead, it became the most chaotic, most unhinged, most legendary hip-hop event of the century so far. And it almost never happened. Here is what actually went down at the gates, and this is the part that got buried under the highlight reels. Doors opened around 6:20 in the evening. The stadium was already surrounded. Ticketed fans, non-ticketed fans, out-of-towners who flew in for the moment, kids who saved for months to be there, a sea of humanity crushing against Yankee Stadium in numbers that security was never built to handle. Then came the surge. Reports started leaking that a barricade had been broken. Reports leaked that unticketed crowds had rushed an entrance. And in a decision that saved lives but almost broke the show, stadium officials sealed every remaining door. 10,000 ticket holders were suddenly locked outside a venue they had every legal right to enter. A show scheduled for 9 p.m. on a Sunday drifted into 10. Then 11. Then midnight. Then Monday morning. Coolio's Gangsta's Paradise played twice through the house speakers, and the second time it drew boos so loud they echoed off the upper deck. Rumors started spreading through the seats that the entire show was about to be cancelled. Backs were aching. Flights were being missed. Work Monday morning was suddenly a threat. And still, nobody moved. Because everyone in that building understood something that the rest of the world hadn't caught up to yet. This wasn't just another concert. This was the last time a legend of this size would ever plant his flag in his own hometown on a stage this loud. And they were going to wait as long as it took. At exactly 12:20 in the morning on Monday, July 13th, the lights inside Yankee Stadium bled from white to blood red. The Dynasty intro dropped like a bomb. And Jay-Z walked out to greet a crowd that had every reason to be broken and instead was ready to lose its collective mind. He didn't hide from the chaos. He addressed it head-on. He told the crowd that 10,000 people were still outside. He told them that a barricade had been rushed. He told them that if he started the music, people could get trampled. And then he apologized. Not a corporate apology. Not a manager-scripted apology. A real one. And in that moment, Jay-Z did what only the biggest artist on the planet can do. He turned a disaster into the most human, most electric, most personal opening of any stadium show in modern memory. From that second forward, the room belonged to him. And Jay-Z never let it go. He opened with Brooklyn's Finest. He opened with Where I'm From. Two records that draw a straight line from that stadium in the Bronx back to the corner where the story began. He hit You Don't Know, and the stadium literally trembled. He brought out Teyana Taylor to sing the hook on Can't Knock the Hustle, and then delivered his own bar a cappella, watching a stadium of 45,000 strangers finish his lyric for him in one voice. Money ain't a tang. Jermaine Dupri walked out on cue. Jeezy followed, in a snowman logo suit, running Seen It All and Go Crazy. And the crowd, the same crowd that had been ready to burn the building down 2 hours earlier, was now completely under his control. This is the part the internet keeps missing. Jay-Z is 56 years old. He performs without a prompter. He performs without backing vocals. It is one man, one microphone, one catalog, and one of the deepest reservoirs of verbal muscle memory the genre has ever produced. There is no shortcut. There is no autopilot. There is only the work. And at 1 a.m. on a Sunday that was now Monday, Jay-Z made the case that nobody in hip-hop has ever done the work better. Then came the Blueprint miniset. Hola Javito. Heart of the City. And when Usher walked out of the darkness to sing that Al Green sample, the roof came off. Usher stripped off his leather jacket, revealed a physique that could not have possibly been legal, and the screams that erupted from that stadium could be heard from Harlem. Jay grinned. Loosen up, he told the crowd. Some of your backs are hurting, right? Loosen up. We're gonna go till 5 a.m. Let's go. And the wildest part? He wasn't joking. He absolutely could have gone until 5 a.m. And every single person in that building would have stayed. Never Change hit at exactly the moment the entire stadium collectively remembered where they were in life. Grown men were crying. Grown women were holding each other. The song landed differently at 1:30 in the morning under a black Bronx sky, with the entire city outside the walls asleep and a legend inside the walls turning a Sunday night into a spiritual event. This is the part that no clip on Twitter is ever going to capture. Because if you were not in that building, you cannot understand it. And if you were in that building, you cannot describe it. The air was different. The sky was different. The whole world outside those gates was dead quiet, and inside those gates, hip-hop was more alive than it has been in a decade. Jay-Z stood in the middle of it, and he was untouchable. Song Cry broke people. Izzo put them back together. And by the time he was ripping through the impossible flows of Fuck With My Auk No We Got It, and Jigga What, Jigga Who, you understood exactly why every rapper for 3 generations has quietly considered him the ceiling. Then Rihanna walked out. And the stadium lost its collective mind again. She performed less often than Jay does now, and that is saying something. But there she was, in the middle of Yankee Stadium at nearly 2 in the morning, tearing through Run This Town, and then flipping into Bitch Better Have My Money like a queen returning to her throne. Oh my God, she said. I missed this, y'all. That was the moment half the internet lost its mind. That was the moment 1,000 tour rumors got restarted. And when Rihanna walked off, Jay didn't slow down. He hit Dead Presidents. He hit Can I Live? He hit Girls, 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 and quietly slipped verses of Oh 3 Bonnie and Clyde into the middle of it, a maneuver that only Jay-Z would think of and only Jay-Z could pull off in real time. He hit 99 Problems. Swizz Beatz stormed the stage for Jigga My N, on to the next one, Rough Riders Anthem, and Welcome to the Jungle. Every guest walked out looking not like a favor being called in, but like a general reporting to duty. Pharrell showed up in Louis Vuitton shorts and a white windbreaker, sliding into that unmistakable falsetto on I Just Wanna Love You, Frontin', and Allure. And this is where the show tilted from great to historic. Because right on the heels of Pharrell walked out Pusha T and Malice, the Clipse, together, standing next to Jay-Z, performing Grindin' at exactly 2:15 a.m. on a stage in the Bronx. Pusha looked delighted. Malice looked reborn. Jay-Z looked like a man watching his life's investment pay dividends in real time. And if you know anything about the last 2 years of hip-hop, you know exactly what that moment signaled. You know exactly which coast just got quiet. You know exactly which one name shall not be spoken artist just got the loudest silent message ever sent from a stage. Everyone in that building understood the subtext. Nobody had to say a word. That is the power of a stage this big and a mind this precise. The message was the moment. The moment was the message. Then came the women in white. A procession of dancers in flowing white robes moved across the stage with military precision. The Mayas. A Lebanese dance troupe whose choreography can freeze a room. And behind them, walking out slow, walking out flawless, walking out like the wife of Yankee royalty, came Beyoncé. She performed Drunk in Love with her husband. She sang without effort. She locked eyes with Jay in the middle of the song. And she turned to the crowd and said the words that made the whole night make sense, "I appreciate your loyalty to this man right here." "It's been a night," Jay said. "One of those legendary nights. We're about to go into overtime." And overtime he went. NS in Paris turned exhausted fans into vocal cord casualties. Big Pimpin' got even the most spent bodies in the stadium bouncing again. Public service announcement was introduced as the national anthem, and honestly, standing in Yankee Stadium at almost 3 in the morning while that beat hit, it kind of was. There was a Sinatra sing-along. There was Empire State of Mind without Alicia Keys, flipped seamlessly into the Welcome to New York City beat with a raw kind of magic that only a native can conjure. There was Fat Joe. There was Jadakiss. There was Jay standing alone at center stage delivering his Dear Summer verse a cappella. And the couplet that landed like a prophecy, "Give me a couple years, I might sneak in a couple words. Have the whole world saying, how you still so good." Right there. That is the sentence to remember. Because that is not a nostalgia lyric. That is a mission statement. That is a man who just spent 3 days rewriting the history of live hip-hop telling you, in the most subtle way possible, that he is not done. That there is more music coming. That the biggest catalog in the culture is about to get bigger. And when you connect that line to the moment with Pharrell earlier in the run, you know the moment, the one that lit up every timeline for 72 hours straight, the picture starts to sharpen. A new Jay-Z album is not a rumor anymore. It is not wishful thinking. It is a rollout. This entire residency was a rollout. 3 sold-out nights at the most iconic stadium in New York with the greatest guest list in concert history was not a farewell. It was a launch sequence. And anyone who thinks Jay is looking backward is not paying attention. He is using the past as the runway. He is using the catalog as the leverage. And he is about to drop something into an industry that is not remotely ready for what a hungry Jay-Z sounds like in his 3rd decade. Now let's talk about the greatness itself, because we need to be honest about what we witnessed. At 56, Jay-Z is doing something that nobody in the history of the genre has ever done at his level. He is rapping 3 nights in a row at a major stadium. He is delivering songs from 4 different decades in a single setlist and making them sound like they came off the same album. He is jumping from the analog boom bap of Can I Live to the Timbaland space funk of Jigga What to the maximalist Kanye production of NS in Paris and making it feel seamless. That is not a skill. That is a superpower. And it is the reason he now has to be included in every serious conversation about the greatest live performer in hip-hop history. Not one of the greatest. The greatest. Full stop. No qualifiers. Some people are going to push back. Some people are going to say the guest list did the work. Some people are going to say he needed the special appearances to sell out the venue. Those people are wrong, and this is where we have to be blunt. The guests did not save the show. The guests decorated the show. The show was already built. Jay-Z spent 30 years cultivating the kind of relationships that produce a Beyoncé duet at 2 a.m., a Rihanna surprise at 1:45, a Clipse reunion at 2:15, a Pharrell run in the middle. Those appearances are not favors. They are dividends. They are the accumulated interest of 3 decades of the most patient and strategic career in the history of the genre. Nobody else, at any age, in any generation, could put that guest list on a single stage. Nobody. Not one artist alive. Now compare that to the peers in his tier. Compare that to a Kanye West, who has become an unmatched theatrical designer but has clearly lost a step as a live rapper. Compare that to a Drake, who fills arenas but rarely delivers a live rap performance that survives a rewatch. Compare that to a Kendrick Lamar, who is untouchable in the studio and elite on stage but has never carried an event of this scale for 3 straight nights with zero technology assist. Jay-Z is doing all of it. He is designing the show. He is executing the show. He is casting the show. He is rapping the show. And he is standing at the center of it looking like a man who is enjoying every second of the last 3-hour set of his career because he knows nobody else can do this. Not one person on the planet. There is a line people keep repeating in the highlight clips that keeps popping into my head. Jay-Z is the Michael Jordan of rap. It is a lazy comparison in most contexts, but on this specific weekend at Yankee Stadium, it was the only comparison that made sense. Because what Jordan did in 1998, in The Last Dance, was walk into an arena everyone else in the league was afraid of and remind them who the ceiling is. That is what Jay did all 3 nights. That is what the Clipse moment was. That is what the Beyoncé duet was. That is what the a cappella Dear Summer verse was. It was a champion walking into a room full of contenders and quietly showing them the gap. It was a masterclass, delivered late at night, to an audience that will spend the rest of their lives trying to convince other people what it felt like. And nobody outside that building is ever going to fully get it. Because here is the thing about the chaos. The chaos made the show. Under any other set of circumstances, Extra Innings would have been a great concert. The delay, the lockout, the security failure, the barricade breach, the desperation of the wait, the collective exhaustion of the crowd, those elements should have destroyed the night. Instead they baptized it. By the time Jay finally walked onto that stage, everyone inside had bonded through hours of anxiety, discomfort, and shared uncertainty. Nobody was there casually anymore. Nobody was checking their phones. Nobody was thinking about their morning meeting. There was only the show and the survivors who had earned it. And that is the psychological trick that turned a delayed concert into a spiritual event. That is why the people who were there will talk about this night for the rest of their lives. That is why the people who weren't there will spend years feeling like they missed something they cannot get back. Because they did. There is one more layer that nobody is talking about, and this is where we go from concert review to industry earthquake. The music industry has spent the last several years trying to figure out what live hip-hop is supposed to look like at scale. Festivals have swallowed the genre. Streaming has flattened the album cycle. Short-form video has cannibalized the promotional arc. And in the middle of all that noise, Jay-Z just walked into the most iconic stadium in America and demonstrated, over 3 consecutive nights, that the old model, the one where a single artist earns a stage that big by carrying decades of catalog, cultural weight, and personal relationships, is not dead. It is dominant. It is the ceiling nobody else in the current landscape can reach. And every executive, every promoter, every touring artist under 40 who watched clips of that Yankee Stadium residency this weekend is now quietly rethinking their entire strategy. Because Jay-Z just proved that longevity is not a liability. Longevity is the weapon. Longevity is the flex. Which brings us to what comes next, and this is the part that should get every fan of the genre very excited and every rival of Jay-Z very nervous. Because there is a version of this story where the Yankee Stadium residency is the exit stage. Where Jay-Z takes a lap, closes the book, and disappears into the mogul phase for good. That is not the version we are getting. Every signal from the last month says the opposite. The Pharrell moment. The a cappella Dear Summer verse. The Clipse moment on a stage with him at 2:15 in the morning. The way he was staring at the crowd during Never Change like a man who has more to say. The joke about going until 5 a.m. that felt like it was not really a joke. There is a new Jay-Z album coming. There is a new Jay-Z chapter coming. And the Yankee Stadium residency was not the closing of the door. It was the removing of the door. And the last thing we need to talk about is what this does for New York. Because this is the piece the coastal outsiders never fully understand. New York hip-hop has been under a very specific pressure for the last 5 years. The sound has moved. The center of gravity has drifted south, drifted west, drifted online. The greatest hip-hop city in the world has been forced to defend its throne in almost every conversation. And what Jay-Z just did with 3 straight nights at Yankee Stadium was not just a personal victory lap. It was a public reclamation of the city's status as the birthplace, the throne, and the ceiling of the genre. That is why he brought out Fat Joe. That is why he brought out Jadakiss. That is why he flipped Empire State of Mind into the Welcome to New York City beat. That is why the entire event was staged in the Bronx, the actual birthplace of the culture. Every choice was a message. Every guest was a statement. Every song was a flag planted in the ground. The message: the throne is not vacant. The throne is not up for grabs. The throne has always been in New York, and it still is. So where does that leave us? It leaves us with the single most consequential live hip-hop event of the 2020s. It leaves us with a 56-year-old rapper who just proved that he is still the best live performer the genre has ever produced. It leaves us with a guest list that reads like the Mount Rushmore of the last 3 decades. It leaves us with a Clipse reunion nobody saw coming. It leaves us with a Rihanna surprise appearance that reignited every touring rumor she has ever had. It leaves us with a Beyoncé duet that put a punctuation mark on 20+ years of the most consequential marriage in modern music. It leaves us with a delay that will be studied by every stadium operations team for the next decade. And it leaves us with a promise. A promise that Jay-Z is not done. A promise that the catalog is about to grow. A promise that whatever comes next is going to hit an industry that has forgotten what it feels like when the ceiling actually walks into the room. If you were in Yankee Stadium that night, you already know. You already carry it. You are already the kind of person who is going to have to explain, over and over, for the rest of your life, why it mattered so much. And if you weren't in Yankee Stadium that night, this is your reminder. This is your bookmark. This is the moment you should remember. Because when we look back at the story of hip-hop and Jay-Z's place inside it, this is one of the pages that will be dog-eared. This is one of the pages that will get quoted. This is one of the pages that will be shown to the next generation as evidence of what one artist can do when he has spent 30 years refusing to phone it in. So let me leave you with this. If you enjoyed this breakdown, drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new here, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. Because we are going to be following every single beat of this new Jay-Z chapter as it unfolds. The album. The rollout. The next stage. The next guest list. The next flag planted in the ground. I want to hear from you in the comments. Who was your favorite guest? Was it the Clipse? Was it Rihanna? Was it Beyoncé? Or was it the a cappella Dear Summer that gave you chills? Tell me down below. Tell me if you think Jay-Z is now, officially, the greatest live performer in the history of hip-hop. Tell me if you think this residency changes the conversation about the GOAT. And if you want to go deeper into what Jay-Z is about to do next, and why the industry should be terrified of it, check out the video on the end screen. I promise you, once you connect those dots, you are going to see this residency completely differently. Until next time, this is your reminder that the throne is not empty, the throne is not up for grabs, and the man who built it just reminded everybody why he still holds the keys. See you in the next one.